Women are sexist. And we as men are just supposed to accept it. Or are we? Welcome back to Resilient Man channel. So we're going to get into this today. The blatant sexism by women towards men and how it is not only accepted in our society, it's actually encouraged. So I was doing some research here to make this content. I was making the thumbnail and was Googling, trying to find pictures. You know, I put in terms like sexist women, sexism towards men from women, or sexist women. And literally the only pictures that were coming up were images of women suffering sexism from men, and the articles that were coming up in the Google searches were all sexism against women by men. And it makes you ask the question, so I guess sexism is only against women? Is that what we're supposed to believe? Is that, well, you know, that's the way it's portrayed in our society, in our culture. We know this not to be true. We know that women can be, and in many ways are sexist towards men in their betrayal of men and their opinions of men and how they view most men. You know, we're all familiar with the term misogyny. Misogyny, of course, you know, a man who has no respect or hatred or contempt towards women, okay? And that term, that idea is completely accepted in our society and culture. And of course, it's also accepted that a lot of women suffer from misogyny. And, you know, it's almost a sport that men enjoy, okay? Which we all know is nonsense. It is complete nonsense. But what about misandry? Misandry is the opposite. It's a woman's hatred and or contempt for men and boys, a prejudice that women have against men and boys, that we see play out a lot in our society, in our culture. A lot of women have this paradigm, they have this mindset of superiority, of men are, generally speaking, men are dangerous. Men only want sex. That's the only thing they want. Men are violent and prone, you know, all men are prone to violence. Men are immature. Men are unreliable and cannot be depended on. All of which is a lie. All of which is complete nonsense. But that is what is portrayed in our culture, in our society. And I think a lot of women don't even realize how sexist they are and won't accept the fact that they are the sexist ones in many cases. Now, I'm speaking in general terms. It's not all women, okay? It's just there are a large number of women in our society. You know, you go on social media today, and it's just astounding to me the number of women who get on social media and make these videos about their dating life or about their marriages or about men in general. And the sexism in their content is astounding. I mean, men are garbage, men are trash, we're knuckle-dragging Neanderthals who, you know, can't put two thoughts together. It's literally a sport to some of these women that you see. And the interesting thing is, you don't see men going on social media and making these videos. Now, there is male content where we discuss what women are actually doing. But that's not a sexist thing. It's just laying out the facts and what we're dealing with in our society and culture. So, but I wanted to make this message today because I've experienced it many, many times in my life. Sexism against me as a man simply because I'm a male. Have you experienced that as well? I'm sure you have. Yesterday was Valentine's Day. And I went to the grocery store, and you walk into the grocery store and there's flowers and candy and balloons. And this whole section when you walk through the front door of the grocery, and it's all this stuff. And I walked through there and I couldn't help but think to myself, how many of you men received a Valentine's from your woman yesterday? Or anything that was really significant. Maybe you got a card, that type of thing. My point being, when I walked through and I saw all the flowers and candies and all that good stuff, it immediately clicked in my mind that the majority of this is going to be purchased by men, given to women to make sure they are happy, they are validated, they are loved. And the obvious question here is, don't men deserve love and respect and validation and appreciation just like women do? Well, the obvious answer is, of course we do. We have value just in the fact of we're human beings, okay? But in our society, the sexist mindset against men is we have very little value. Very little value. I mean, if you think about it, it really is true. It really is true. I mean, I experienced a situation recently. Went out and met some folks for drinks, and we're hanging out there, we're having beers, and it was a couple that, it was me with this lady and then another couple that we met with. And the other woman, we hung out probably about an hour, just socializing, drinking some beers. She must have said something anti-male, sexist towards men at least 3 to 4 times, and she's there with her boyfriend, and she said things like, men just can't be trusted, men can't be trusted for this, or, men this and men that. And I'm listening to this and I'm just like, wow. I mean, number one, I don't know the woman, so I'm not going to say anything because I'm certainly not going to argue with this person I don't even know. But it really was astounding to me. She sat there and said these sexist things against men in front of her man, and which showed him no respect and no dignity towards him. And she said it in front of me, a man was just meeting, which told me she has no respect for men, and that it was perfectly acceptable in her mind to say these anti-male sexist things as if it was nothing. Now, if I had said something anti-female, I would have been a misogynist, I would have been a creep, what I would have been called. I'm sure you, as a man, have experienced this as well, and it's just laughed off, men are this, men are that. But many times this plays out in our society, and I think some women do realize it and they enjoy it, and then there are some women who don't even realize they're doing it. Look at the other situations in our society and culture. For instance, in a family, women are assumed to be the better parent, which is actually statistically has been shown to be false. And women swear by it. Just because of the fact I am a woman, I have a vagina, I am the better parent. I am the more nurturing parent. I am the more dependable parent. I am the more caring parent. And that's why we see in family court, it plays out so many times in a sexist decision against men. The woman gets the majority of the custody and child support and all that. And the man, the father, who is just as good as parent, and many times statistically it is actually showing out in research, single fathers actually do a better job than single mothers. So, but in a society and culture that is sexist towards men, this is just accepted, you know. And if you would argue that point, well, you can look at the problems that we have in the children who are being raised in single homes for the past 30, 40, 50 years by single mothers versus single men. The statistics show that the single father actually does a much better job as a single parent. But see, you know, another example in that role, if the woman stays home with the children, she's parenting. If the father stays home with the children, he's babysitting. You know, I'm sorry, I'm not a babysitter. I'm their father, and I'm parenting my children. I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous that it's seen this way. And, you know, the bias, isn't this misandry, denigrating the father as a quote-unquote second-class parent? You know, she's the primary parent because she's a woman. And the father is denigrated to second class parenthood status. The overt sexism against the man is just astonishing. I mean, it really, really is. What about the workplace? I mean, how many times have you seen this in a professional environment? You know, in my career, you know, I've been in sales over 25 years. I've been very successful. I can tell you a lot of my managers, my directors have been women, and they've been sharp, professional women. Actually, there was one woman who was a sales manager of mine. She's one of the greatest sales managers I ever had in my career. But the workplace is still portrayed as a male-dominated, patriarchal, whatever you want to call it, where the woman is, you know, struggling and, oh, she just can't get ahead. It's a lie. It's an absolute lie. I've witnessed it in my career. Many of you men have witnessed it as well. You know, and unfortunately, how many of these women, some got their position because they're a woman, simply because they have a vagina, simply because it was a DEI hire, they had to meet a quota, and there was a qualified man who wasn't even considered for the role because he was a man. That happens. That's a fact. That's a fact. And it's overt sexism against men. So, you know, it's interesting because a lot of women want to have it both ways. They want the protected status of being a woman, of being a female, of being, quote unquote, the softer sex, the fairer sex. But the fact of the matter is, if she wants that protected status as a woman, she needs to be a feminine woman who is happy in her traditional role of femininity. And the thing is, men actually take pride in protecting and providing that kind of woman who embraces her femininity and lets the man excel in his masculinity as the leader. So, but see, if you've rejected your femininity, if you are strong and independent or whatever you want to call it, and you look down as men, you don't deserve protected status. Quite frankly, you're going to be treated like a man. You want to act like one, you're going to be treated like one. There should not be any special protection. If you want respect as a woman, act like a feminine woman in a traditional role. So, guys, give me your thoughts, okay? I believe a lot of you men watching this have experienced sexism against you as a male simply because you're a man. And a lot of things have been attributed to you, simply because you're a man, even though you've done nothing to deserve those monikers or whatever you want to call them. So, guys, share your thoughts. Let me know what you think. If you're enjoying Resilient Man Contact, excuse me, please like and subscribe to the channel. Focus on being the best version of yourself, and that's going to bring you the most happiness. So know your worth, guys. Protect your peace.